Okay, let's move to our next part, methods of raising rice seedlings. So these are major methods used for preparation of rice seedling. In that, first is wet bed method, dry bed method, and dapuk method. Okay, so in wet bed method or wet nurseries are preferred under irrigated conditions. Here, nursery field we have to plow first in dry condition, and again we have to follow 2 to 3 times puddling operation with the help of puddler, or if puddler is not available, we can follow 3 to 4 times plowing operation in 5 to 6 centimeter of standing water. Okay, then we have to apply farmyard or compost manure at the rate 10 tons per hectare at the time of first puddling. Then we have to apply after 1 to 2 days of puddling operation. We have to divide nursery area into narrow beds of 25 of 25-meter width and uh, according to convenience of length. 1 to 25-meter width of bed we can choose, and length should be according to our convenience. Then we have to construct uh, drainage channels 30 centimeter wide in between seed beds. Suppose here is our one seed bed, here is our next seed nursery bed. So in between two beds we have to construct drainage channels at least 30 centimeter wide, and then we have to apply 225 gram of urea or 500 gram of ammonium sulfate plus 500 gram of single superphosphate per 10 meter square area of this nursery bed. And then we have to spread or broadcast 2 to 3 handfuls of seeds for this 1 square meter area of the bed. Okay, next we have to keep seed beds saturated with water at least for 5 to 6 days, and then we have to increase water level gradually up to 5 centimeter. Then we have to drain out excess water. If heavy rainfall is there, we have to drain out excess water uh, during first week of sowing. Then we have to add sorry 50 gram of urea per meter square 50 gram of urea per meter square in case of nitrogen deficiency. If we see a deficiency in small seedlings, then we have to apply 50 gram of urea per meter square area. If we observe zinc deficiency in seedlings, then we have to spray zinc sulfate. At least 2 sprays are important, 10 days after sowing and 20 days after sowing. If iron deficiency is there, we have to spray ferrous sulfate. Okay, so in wet bed method, seedlings are ready for transplanting at the age of 25 to 20 to 25 days after uh, sowing. Okay, this is one method of rice nursery preparation. Or next is dry bed method. See, this method is practiced in areas where water is not sufficient for growing of seedlings in wet nurseries. At that time, this method is used. Here we have to plow our field 3 to 4 times. Then we have to divide our plot or field in narrow beds of 1.25 centimeter width and convenient length and 5 centimeter height, and again 30 centimeter wide, what we can say, wide drainage channels. We have to construct same like wet bed method. Then we have to sow seeds in rows 10 centimeter apart in dry or moist conditioned soil. Again we have to apply 225 gram of urea or 500 gram of ammonium sulfate plus 500 gram of single superphosphate for 10 meter square area, according to 10 meter square area. Then we have to uniformly broadcast 2 to 3 handfuls of seeds for 1 meter square area of seed bed. Then the sown seeds are covered with soil layer. Then we have to keep bed saturated with water. After that we have to apply water. We have to maintain thin film of water if possible up to after 5 days days after sowing, and remaining part or remaining methods are same like wet nursery. Okay, so this is next our second method of rice nursery preparation. Here is the POG method, and this method is very important for short note type of questions for your final practical exam or final theory exam. See, this rice nursery preparation, that means methods: wet bed method, dry bed method, and the POG methods. These all methods are again important for your practical part also. See, this Dapog method is first introduced in India from Philippines, and firstly this method is adopted by some farmers from Andhra Pradesh. See, in this method, beds are prepared on open field or on cement floor also. About 1 meter square area of seed bed requires 3 kilogram of seeds, and these beds are covered with polythene sheets or banana leaves after removal of midribs of the leaves. A small area, that means up to 35 to 40 meter square area is sufficient to raise seedlings for 1 hectare area. About 36 to 48 hours pre-germinated seeds are broadcasted uniformly over these plastic sheets or banana leaves at 3 grams per meter square, and these seeds are packed uh, by making uniform layers of uh, by making 3 uniform layers of seeds, which quite thicker in nature, and then we have to sprinkle water on the seeds. Then again we have to press seeds lightly once a day till fourth day. Again we have to sprinkle water 3 to 4 times a day till fourth day, just to keep seed bed wet. Then cover these seeds with 1 to 2 centimeter layer of water, and about 8, 11 to 14 days, roots are well developed and seedlings are ready for transplanting. The nursery is then cut into a number of strips and then rolled like a mat with the roots outward, and then it is carried to the main field for transplanting. Okay, so loosen or interlocked roots, uh, sorry loose the interlocked roots carefully before transplanting, just to avoid damage to the seedlings, and 3 to 4 number of seedlings are transplanted per hill in this method. Here you can see advantages of this method. It is again important for objective type question and in even short note type of questions for your final theory as well as practical examination. So here are the advantages of this method. It saves half time compared to normal, that means wet and dry bed method of seedlings. It requires less area. No seedbed preparation is required here. No fertilizer requirement is here. It requires less labor cost. Seedlings are raised without soil at any place. Even these seedlings are established immediately. Purification is or pure material is can be maintained here. Roots are not disturbed during uprooting of the seedlings. Okay, so these are different kinds of advantages. If we think about disadvantages, so it requires more seed rate, and seedlings are quite delicate, thin, slender, and short in height, and 3 to 4 seedlings are important for transplanting at each hill compared to other methods. In other methods like in wet bed or dry bed method, we require only 2 seedlings for transplanting at each hill, but here in the Dapog method we require 3 to 4 number of seedlings. Okay, here is field preparation for wet bed for what we can say uh, low land cultivation of rice system. So here we have to plow for our field first at least uh, 25 to 20 to 25 centimeter deep in summer season. Then we have to keep our field flooded or saturated. Then puddling should be carried out uh, 2 weeks before transplanting of seedlings. So before puddling operation, we should maintain 30 centimeter, we should construct 30 centimeter high earthen burns around the field. See, puddling is done in the field 3 to 4 times in standing water. And at the time of puddling, we have to apply half nitrogen, full dose of phosphorus and potassium at the time of last puddling. And then we have to incorporate it at least in 10 to 15 centimeter depth of the upper layer of the soil. Okay. Next is transplanting of the main seedling. At what age we have to transplant these seedlings, and what is the actual time period for transplanting the seedling? So optimum age for transplanting seedling is mostly depends upon duration of variety, management practices we followed there, and method of seedling used for raising nursery. The ideal age of seedling for transplanting is 4 to 5 leaf stage. Okay, when the crop, when the seedling attains height up to 15 to 20 centimeter. If we are transplanting these seedlings in Kharif season, so we have to choose 20 to 30 days old seedlings. If we want to transplant for Rabi season, we have to choose 30 to 35 days old seedlings. See, for short duration varieties, we should choose 21 to 25 days old seedling. For mid late to late variety, we have to select 23rd to 30 days old seedlings. At least 2 to 3 seedlings are transplanted at each hill at with upright position. Okay. Next, time of transplanting. So optimum time of transplanting, which plays important or significant role in getting good yield of rice crop. So best for best yield of this rice crop, we have to transplant the seedlings at first fortnight of July. If we delay the transplanting of seedling, it reduces yield up to 50 to 75% from total yield. Here is the spacing. So again, spacing of the transplanting seedling varies according to duration of variety, age of seedling, soil fertility and season. See, in Kharif season, spacing should be wider than the Rabi season. Here soil type of variety and spacing is given. For light soils, mostly we have to go for short duration variety or early varieties, and spacing in between two seedlings should be 15 by 15. For medium textured soil, we have to go for medium duration varieties, and spacing should be 20 to 20 by 15 centimeter. And for heavy soils, we should go for late duration varieties, 20 by 15 or 20 by 20 centimeter spacing is recommended. See, plant we have to plant at least 2 to 3 number of seedlings per hill for getting maximum yield. If we are using the POG method, at that time we have to use 3 to 4 number of seedlings. If seedlings are overaged, then we should go for 4 to 6 number of seedlings per hill. So seedling should not be planted more than 2 to 3 centimeter deep, because the deeper layer planting delays and inhibits tiller formation. Okay, that's why we have to transplant seedlings at least for 2 to 3 centimeter at 2 to 3 centimeter depth. Okay. Here is nutrient management. So we have to apply uh, farmyard manure. So at least uh, 10 to 15 tons well decomposed farmyard manure we have to apply before sowing. Or here chemical fertilizers we are using, it is again depends upon the fertility of soil and which crop we previously cultivated on same field. See, in lowland puddled rice, submerged condition is there, so entire crop is remains submerged in water. So here we have to apply fertilizers in root zones. Okay, so this root zone is converted into upper zone and submerged zone or submerged soil zone. So upper zone is called as oxidized zone, and this zone which receives oxygen from the irrigation water or from the rainfall, and it turns brown in color, and which remains lower zone, that is puddled zone, it is called as a reduced zone, which is without oxygen. So ammonical nitrogen fertilizers, when we apply to the soil, it get oxidized to the nitrate, which forms into the oxidized zone. So this nitrate nitrogen leaches down to the reduced zone and it denitrifies to the gaseous nitrogen. Therefore nitrogen has to be applied in reduced zone to avoid leaching losses and denitrification losses of the nitrogenous fertilizers. Okay, so nitrogen use efficiency in rice is quite low due to the genotypes or varieties or incidence of disease, pest and application, which application method we are using. So it is nitrogen use efficiency is again depends on all these factors. So some few techniques are developed here to minimize the losses of nitrogen. So here we have to split this nitrogen into various splits, as we discussed this part in previous slides also. So whole dose of phosphorus and potassium is applied before last puddling, uh, and this phosphorus and potassium is highly required for early growth stages of the crop plant, and nitrogen is given in split form. See, in short duration or medium duration varieties, nitrogen is given in 2 splits. For long duration it is given in 3 splits. 50% nitrogen is given at the time of transplanting and 25% nitrogen at the time of tillering, and remaining 20% nitrogen at the time of panicle initiation stage. Mostly slow release nitrogenous fertilizers are used for the rice crop, that is sulfur coated urea, neem coated urea or urea DAP briquettes. Okay, see, most of the time in nitrogen we can see micronutrient deficiency. So micronutrients are also helpful for this crop. Mostly zinc, iron and boron, these plays important role, or this deficiency we can find in this rice crop. So for zinc deficiency we should go for zinc sulfate, application of zinc sulfate. For iron deficiency, iron sulfate, and for boron, that means borax. Here, in nutrient management, green manuring crop also plays important role for rice crop. So, sunham, densha, green gram or glyricidia leaves are plays important role. We have to incorporate these green manuring crops at the time of puddling operation. Here again we can go for BGA, blue-green algae, also Anabina azuli, which picks atmospheric nitrogen and which provides nitrogen to the crop plant, to the rice crop. Azolla is also an important biofertilizer we can use to increase nitrogen fixation of the crop plant, and which will be helpful for better yield of the rice crop. Okay, so here is the here is the nutrient management for rice crop in for lowland cultivation. Next is water management. So total water requirement of this crop again varies according to type, that means from cultivation to transplanting, that means for nursery rice seedling preparation this crop requires 50 to 60 hectare water, and from transplanting up to the harvesting this crop requires 130 hectare centimeter water. If we think about its critical growth stages, so early tree layering stage, flowering stage, panicle initiation stage, and dove stage, these are the different critical growth stages of this rice crop. Okay, let's move to next part.